Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to Dry That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof.
Okay, g'day, how you all going? It's Dry That Aussie Metal Guy here with Crank.com and with thatmetalstation.com. So tonight, wherever you are in the world, it's a great pleasure that I'm having a chat with Maurizio Iacono of Kataklysm, who are due to release their 15th studio album, Goliath, which is an absolute ripper. Cheers for joining me for a chat about the album, mate.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Absolute pleasure. I did get to chat with JF Dagonet of the when you dropped the Unconquered album. That was an absolute beast of an album. I was really looking forward to the follow-up on this. I know you guys had 3 years to make it. Tell me a little bit about that process making this album.
This record was recorded, written and recorded in 22, right towards the like, let's say the phase out of the pandemic type of thing, right? So we had a lot of that stuff in us when we wrote it. You know, you can't lock down a guy like me and think that not a monster is going to come out, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much what the record did to us musically. It was a record that we wrote during that time. We took our time to do it. It started in January, February, and then we slowly put the ideas together and left it there, came back to it. Oh, it's still killer. Keep working on it. So we were very detailed on how we approached this album. It was also the first album James Payne played on for Kataklysm. Yeah, he's a very well-known drummer in the metal scene. And as soon as that guy came into the band, the chemistry just popped. And we toured together a few tours before getting into this record just to get to know each other real well, because that's like a new family member. So you got to kind of like, you know, get to know each other, make sure that everything is in the right place. And it's just, I think Kataklysm right now, it's in a place where it's extremely strong with itself and everybody's understanding the path. And this record came out really killer. We're very happy with it.
Yeah, well, James is an absolute beast on the drums. Anyone who hasn't heard him, just check that second single, Die As a King, where he just absolutely obliterates it and opens up that track, and you're like, fuck, yes.
Yeah.
Track,
and he's a tiny fellow too. You wouldn't think that he could do that shit, you know? So so he's a pack of nerves.
yeah, definitely killer singles to kind of release as well. I think Die As a King was kind of a prequel leading into the Bringer of Vengeance. Tell us about those two singles.
Yeah, so basically, those were the singles that we thought we wanted to start with because of that concept. And so Bringer of Vengeance it's kind of the aftermath of what happened to King Richard I, which was they called him the Lionheart, you know, but it's not exactly in the historic form what happened. We made it more dramatic with the kid and all that stuff. But the idea behind it is really about, you know, standing tall to what you believe in, standing fast to even if certain death's in front of you. It's about standing your ground till the end. And at the same time, for his kid, needed patience to take his revenge and take his dad's honor back. To do that, he had to go through a process of patience and learning about it. So like what he needed to do. So basically, it's kind of life lessons as well in there, and put it in a historic form.
Well, I love fucking history. That was my favorite subject growing up in school, and it must be fun for you to dive into these stories, not only with Kataklysm, but with your project Invictus, but also with Ex Deo as well, to dive into these great stories that some people probably don't know or aren't aware of. We can look back into history and we have these just brutal stories that are perfect for some of these death metal tracks for sure.
Absolutely. I'm very into history, because history also sometimes tends to repeat itself, you know. So it's good to know where the past is, to know where the future is going, you know, for many things. So that's why, you know, the David versus Goliath story is thousands of years old, and that's a biblical story. And you look at moving forward now and it's still relevant. So it's crazy like that. So I thought it was a good time for a record like this with the title and everything. I think it makes sense, you know.
Definitely. And that cover art is absolute beast as well for that one.
Yes. And I wanted to represent humanity versus the machine, right? And to me, that's how I see this. And I wanted to do it in again in like the biblical era, because I like ancient things and I like history. And Ellerin Cantor is like an incredible artist, and he was the only one I could see to do this the right way, and he delivered for sure on this. He did a killer job on it.
It looks great on the vinyl as well. People, you all need to go out and get those vinyl because they look absolutely fucking unreal. It's great to see vinyl coming really back cool. The last few years. How's it been like for you? I know you've been flat out. You had Invictus last year, Ex Deo 2021. You dropped the Unconquered. I know it's been a busy few years for you, but it must be good to be busy after what we went through back through 2019, 2020. Because I was talking to JF, he was all excited about the album. Then COVID kind of just shut everything down for you guys, and you're all ready to tour with the album. And poor JF ended up getting COVID as well at the start of that, not long after the interview as well.
He got it pretty bad too. Like he was pretty down on it, right? So I got it. I was okay. I didn't get too crazy, but I think he had a different variant, whatever. I had the hard one, the Delta was called or whatever. But at the end, it was. I can't stand still, man. So basically, it's like if I'm not doing anything, especially if during that time, so I wrote, So for me, music is therapy. So, Ex Deo was in the plans already. So we continued with that plan as planned and released the record. We couldn't tour for it. So unfortunately, that hurt the record a little bit because we couldn't really be out there. We decided to tour for the Kataklysm Unconquered record, which was a year later. We started in August of 21 with Deicide. We toured the United States with that. And then we did Dark Tranquility tour. So we were able to move with that. And we just recently finished the Unconquered record. We just did soul work in Europe, so everything was delayed. And in between that process, since we couldn't still go full-fledged, I decided to do a solo record called Invictus, Unstoppable album, and that was signed on Monarch Records. I released that out, and it was just something I wanted to do for myself. I wanted to test some waters with that, and so I'm just the type of person that needs to work. To me, this is therapy. Music is therapy, and it's an output. And some people, like I said previously in another interview, some people decide to punch a punching bag, and I do this, so I scream through a mic. So basically, that's my thing.
Yeah, and you recorded down at Florida, didn't you? JF's studio there.
So he lives in Texas. I live in Florida.
That's right. Yeah.
So my Kataklysm right now is all over the place. I mean, I'm in Florida. He's in Texas. My drummer's in Payne is in. He's in Los Angeles, and then my bass player is the only true guy left in Canada. So
you must be kind of used to it though, because you're working with your other projects, working with artists all over the place.
So the technology helps, right? So through the internet, we're able to send each other's riffs, ideas, drum takes, and then we put it all together, and then we get together, rehearse it, boom, put it out. So that's been the actual kind of recipe for Kataklysm for the last years, but we perfected it during the COVID time because we needed to do it. You know what I mean? So it's we are very self-sufficient, and we have a system and it works, and we're sticking by it. And when things like this happen, then you're going to have a very aggressive Kataklysm record. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, well, it kind of opens out. I do want to get this right. Kings may be chosen by God, but they still make the mistakes of men. I just thought that was so relevant, not only to the album, but to this time in general.
Absolutely. And people think they're above everything until they realize they're still men, right? And I think that was a very good quote. I watched that movie and I saw that quote. I was like, I got to put that in the record, And the Goliath title just came in, like a bunch of my friends and my house. We were in the backyard and having some beers and drinking, and then we were just talking about current events in life in general and stuff. And one of my we're living through a David versus Goliath moment right now. Like we are in a modern version of it. And I was like, that's the title right there.
Yeah.
So this oppressive type of feeling we feel like this, during this pandemic, it's just, we're going so fast in life. You don't take the time to stop. And when we were forced to stop, it made you realize that this is happening. You know what I mean? That they were able to shut down the world like this
I
You know what
know.
I mean? Like, and then nobody questioned it. It was like, okay, so okay, there's something going on. But then a year, 2 years, you know, excuse after excuse. I have this thing where I have some fundamental rights that I think can be fucked with, you know, and that's freedom of speech and freedom of choice. I think it's your body, it's your domain, it's your world, and I think you have the right to decide yes or no, you
Yeah.
know, and it's freedom of speech that gets destroyed. Me and you cannot speak anymore, right? We won't have the opportunity what we're doing right now. So that's called debate, and we have to debate things. You have to question things. The moment you're censored, you can't say something, you lose your job. It's like insanity in a modern world like this, of a free world. This is happening. To me, it freaked me out. Like, so I think as metalheads, we're nonconformists
Yes.
in general. We're nonconformists. We're outcasts already of society. We are a different breed. We find each other at concerts. You know, that's where we go, and we go to bars that are metal, and we get together with. It don't matter where you come from, your creed, your race, your metalhead. As soon as you get into that place, it's our church. You know, and we understand each other. And the world should be like that, right? But it's
Most
not.
definitely.
Yeah, they want to divide everything, and then I think that there's something going on, and this record is kind of us being the metalheads on the bottom there, and Goliath is the machine, and we're fighting it. You know what I mean? And if things go according to plan, we should be winning it.
Yeah, most definitely. And I kind of do want to mention too, kind of we're talking about the big cunts in the circle there. I always harp on about Spotify, and I do bring it back to merch. It's important for fans not only to buy the merch,
Yeah.
but to get along to these tours as well. Like, I can't tell you how important it is. I've spoken to so many bands, hundreds of bands, and I try and bring it up every time. It's important because people forget that Spotify and these big corporations are just taking advantage of the music and the artists and the
Yeah,
scene.
yeah,
Is are pretty
yeah.
well giving away your intellectual property for fuck all. And,
For
you know,
sure.
it's important for fans and metalheads to get together and kind of support bands like yourself, buy these albums, get along to these tours, buy fucking
Mhm.
merch when you go to the shows, because it's the only way we're going to keep this scene going forward as well.
Oh yeah, it'll die if that does if that
Ah,
stops, it's gone, right? That the streaming itself on its own, the way it's structured right now, it's not gonna the bands can't survive only on that. So the concerts are very important, and the merch, obviously, if you love the album and you're like, dude, this record's great, buy a vinyl, buy a CD. That really does help us, you know, because it's that extra income that makes a difference, you know what I mean? So I do appreciate you pushing that on people, man, because they have to understand that it's there is, you need time to create all this stuff, right? And if you can't do it because you don't have the money to do it, it's very difficult. Luckily for Kataklysm, where band's been around for a long time, coming from a different structure, where we were able to build a great solid foundation, and we're in decent shape as a band. And but I can't imagine a new band how difficult it is right now to
oh
get
yeah.
ahead.
It's
It's crazy.
absolutely crazy. And touring plans. What you got? A launch show, I think, in Germany as well for all the lucky Germans over there as well,
Yeah.
and a heap of shows over in the festival
We're,
circuit. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're gonna be on the ground in Europe. So we decided, like, since we're doing these big open airs like Wacken, Summer Breeze, and Metal Days, we're doing some really big ones. That since we're on the ground, we might as well do a couple of release shows over there in Germany. And so we decided to do that. It's gonna be about 12 shows in all, with the open airs, and then we're flying back here. We're gonna take the rest of the year off, like just not off, but still campaigning for this record, promotional wise, because we have we did 35 countries in 3 months, 72 shows.
I've seen that.
So we did 35 countries, 72 shows, 3 months. We just finished it. So we're kind of tired from that a little bit, but we're recouping right now. We're going to get into this festival season, and we're going to take it easy. And at the end of the year, we're going to start the official campaign for touring for Goliath, and it's going to start in Canada most likely. So
Uh,
that's how it's looking right now.
awesome. Great news. Maurizio, do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there, my friend?
Just a big thank you to you for taking your time to talk to me today, and spreading the good word of metal to everybody. This is an important record on so many levels. It doesn't talk about nonsense. This is a record you should check out, and if you watch the lyrics, you'll probably find yourself in it. because we are all in the same boat.
Damn straight. Cheers, mate.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.